Live. You're listening to Live with Men, the podcast.
Hi, this is Men, the podcast. It's nakusikia mpaka unavyoimba huko. I don't know, najiongea mwenyewe mimi huku nakusikia. And yeah, this I know it might sound different hata kwa mtu ambaye anatusikiliza, eh? We are back to our B studio because we have A studio and B studio. So we are back to our second studio, which is Nadia's office. Nadia, ni kama umebadilisha baadhi ya vitu au I'm seeing things?
I have less plants.
Yes,
My plants are dying.
Why? Are you not taking care of them?
No, I think we talk about very heavy emotional things in here. So I think the plants are absorbing the energy.
The plants cannot
You're
handle
laughing.
it.
I'm serious. Like they did an experiment. One, how you speak to your plants, whether or not they grow. There's one they speak to the plant negatively, and the other they speak positive affirmations.
Who did this research? Why? What were they trying to prove?
Someone. I can't remember, but when I find it, I'll share it. But they found the plant where the person was speaking negatively towards, the plant didn't grow. It actually died. The one they spoke to positively, imekuwa nakwambia, it prospered, and the environment was controlled for.
Nadia.
So think about it when we talk to ourselves. Nadia is I'm so useless. I can't ever do anything right. You are not growing. You are dying.
So you're telling me
we're like plants.
So plants have feelings.
They have feelings. So no, my plants. I had an orchid. It died. I had a cactus.
It died.
It died.
So yeah, if you're listening for the first time, that is our resident psychologist, Nadia. Tupo ofisini kwake na kama ameamua kutudanganya, ameamua kutuambia ukweli, this is one thing I cannot prove.
Go look it up. Do your research.
Yeah, please go look it up. Do your research. Yeah, Nadia ni @mindmatterstz, @mindmatterstz on Instagram and @mindmatterstz on Twitter. And then after there, kwenye bio yake, there's the link ameweza kupeleka kwenye website yake, and then there are million ways ambazo unaweza kuwasiliana naye kama unahitaji kuzungumza naye zaidi. Lakini she's our resident, I feel good saying it. She's our resident psychologist wa kwenye Men the podcast. For us natupata on Twitter @Men the podcast and on Instagram @Men the podcast. Follow us, send us a DM, whatever unataka kutuambia. Lakini pia on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audiomack, Boomplay, na popote unapoweza kutupata. Just go subscribe, give us a rating, share the podcast, because really hii ni free gospel ambayo we think everybody inabidi aipate, you know. Mimi naitwa Michael Barut kama nilivyosema, and we have Dr. Boio Nyamwihura with us today. Now, before we start, I would like to say kwamba I think leo tunazungumzia one of those things ambavyo kama disclaimer ambayo Nadia alitoa when we did the episode on porn and masturbation. Yeah. I think we need another disclaimer.
Yeah.
Kwa sababu leo pia tunaenda kuzungumzia one of those things ambavyo people talk about secretly, but nobody really wants to dig deep na kuizungumzia kwa undani zaidi. Tunataka kuzungumzia kuhusiana na swala zima la nguvu za kiume. As you know, there's 3 men in here. Yes. Nadia is a men by association. Kwa hiyo haina neno. Kwa hiyo kama wewe morally unaona haya mambo sio vitu ambavyo unapenda kuvizungumzia na kuvisikiliza, we have a lot of other episodes. Go back, pick any of those, revisit, sikiliza, jifurahishe. Lakini kama you really want to know the truth na kujaribu kujenga zaidi jamii, we think everybody should listen to this episode. Tunataka kuzungumzia nguvu za kiume. So for starters, Dr. Boio Nyamwihura,
yes, sir.
Wewe ni urologist.
Yes.
So tukisema urologist exactly, what do we mean? Urologist ni mtu ambaye anadeal na nini?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me. Firstly, I think a urologist is basically a doctor who deals with issues concerning the urinary tract, which means anything from the kidneys, adrenal glands, ureters, bladder, regardless of gender, for males, females, as well as children. And then also we deal with genital issues, mostly for men, and male reproduction and male sexuality. Basically, that's what. Think of us as maybe like a male gynecologist.
Male gynecologist.
I like that.
Yes, I like that. So he's the right person ambaye tunaweza kuwa naye humu ndani.
Who has seen a male gynecologist in here? Some women too haven't seen gynecologists.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many men actually go check up on their genital health.
Yeah, and this was going to be my next question. Do you get a lot of male? Do urologists?
Yes.
Get a lot of male clients? I want to say, you know what? I'm just gonna go visit my urologist.
Or like how women would come through to just visit their gynae for a checkup.
Yeah.
In our culture, we usually don't have people who come in just for checkups. People usually come in when they have an issue that has to bring them to the hospital. So I don't think, there aren't that many people who just come up for just basic checkups.
Yeah.
It would be good if they did, especially older men with issues pertaining prostate health and urinary issue, mostly prostate health. But that doesn't usually happen. People come only when something really goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like this issue we'll discuss today.
Yeah, this issue tunazungumzia nguvu za kiume na moja kulikuwa kuna mjadala mkubwa sana uliingia kwenye social media juzi kati. Nadhani kuna bunge moja aliongea bungeni akasema kwamba wanaume wengi sana wa Tanzania wana struggle na swala zima la nguvu za kiume. So kwenye social media ilibuka issue kubwa toka kuna research gani zilizopo na nini na vitu kama hivyo. Lakini kitu ambacho hatuwezi kukataa ni kwamba kuna a lot of conversation ambazo zinaendelea on social media and on social media kuhusiana na swala zima la nguvu za kiume. So nikijaribu just to kuweka tu understanding, tunapozungumzia nguvu za kiume, what do we mean? Najua hatumaanishi kwenda gym kunyanyua vyuma na vitu kama hivyo, kwa sababu even women do that squeeze. Tunazungumzia swala zima la nguvu za kiume, tunamaanisha nini doctor?
Swala zima la nguvu za kiume, sema kwa Kiswahili ni pana sana kwa sababu it includes a lot of things. You have issues dealing with erectile issues, you have issues dealing with fertility issues, and dealing with things like libido, nasema harm, desire na vitu vyote. Na kwa kwenye swala zima la nguvu za kiume. Now, therefore, upungufu wake. So, I don't know how to attack it personally, but I think the thing that affects most people, or people are very sensitive to, is erectile dysfunction. I think that's one thing that really affects people. Issues like fertility, those tend to come later. People can kind of not really pay much attention to it, but erectile dysfunction is something that happens there and then. It is noticeable to both the person affected and the partner. So when we talk of erectile dysfunction, we're talking about a couple of things. This is one, maybe a person fails to completely get an erection when they're called to task, if I can say that. And then there's the
ukiitwa kazini. Ukiitwa kazini unashindwa kwenda kazini.
Also there's the issue where one has an erection that is too weak to enter. We call it intromission. Okay? And then some people do enter, but then they cannot continue to climax. Okay? So these are the basic aspects of erectile dysfunction. So usually when these things happen, they're not missed. It's something that is so obvious, and the effects on the person tend to be quite serious. Yes, there are patients who do come through. Surprisingly, younger patients, younger males below the age of 40, who are coming in with such complaints. As in an old wives' tale, everyone talks about how older men tend to have such issues. But now it's been seen that also younger males are also getting the same problem.
But kwa younger males, au kwa wanaume ambao msema below 40.
Let's say below
40. Ni kitu ambacho kilikuwepo toka zamani au unahisi kwamba ni kitu ambacho kimepeak recently?
Yaani
kwa sababu na the aim ya kuuliza hivyo kwa sababu mara nyingi sana watu wanahusianisha vitu na lifestyle ambayo tunaishi, na of course tunavyoishi sasa hivi sio kama ambavyo watu wa the same age waliishi 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. So, let me speak at least in a Tanzanian context. I've tried to look for data that described maybe erectile dysfunction earlier back then. That I've not seen, and maybe because there may have not been that much interest back then in such an issue. You know, like we understand that it's almost a taboo issue, right? People didn't speak much about it, and you'd have, I think in our normal settings, you'd have people who'd have such issues would speak to their elders, their uncles, and they'll take them through herbal treatments, and then they finish that issue off. But now people are actually more free to come through to clinics with their issues. So there has been data that was shown. Actually, let me just try to quote maybe data from a journal of sexual medicine. I think this was done in America. That quoted 1 in 4 males below the age of 40 at some point will experience erectile dysfunction.
1 in 4.
1 in 4. So that's about 25%. Will experience some form of erectile dysfunction. So the issue is, it could be transient or it could be something that starts and progresses. So while we will just quickly look at how it happens and what are the causes, and then we can really understand exactly what goes on when this thing happens. And I don't know, it has been easy to dwell on things like erectile dysfunction. Like I said, it's something that is so obvious, and it's something that will definitely bring someone over to a healthcare center.
Yeah. Nadia, I mean, have you ever mentally kutana na watu ambao wanakuja na kuambia one of the struggles that they're having is nguvu za kiume?
So in my practice, unakutana na watu ambao wanakuambia their sex drive has decreased, their libido has decreased, so there's issues with them getting the desire one or achieving, erection, or just in a way maintaining it. And inakuwaga as a symptom of a mental illness or of a mental health condition or an issue. So it's not the problem in itself that inawaletaga kwangu, but usually when we sit and tunaanza kufanya assessment, kuangalia history, kuangalia what's, because we go through domains tofauti kwa maisha yako. Unaonaga watu wengi wanaweza waka mention kwamba okay, this is an area ambayo sasa hivi na shida nalo, napata tatizo hapa. So wako, and it's a number of different mental health conditions and illnesses. That is one of the symptoms of the illness. That this is an area that is affected kwa watu.
Moja kati ya fia kubwa sana za wanaume is that. Yaani na yeye anakuja kubwa mara nyingi sana. Sijui kama inahusiana swala zima toxic masculinity au nature au nini, I don't know, lakini wanaume wengi tunasema kwamba kipimo chetu cha wanaume kinaendana sana uwezo wa nguvu za kiume. Kwamba ninyang'anye kila kitu but at least niachie hiyo. Niachie. It's the truth. Ndio maana this thing they tend to waga vinaleta discussion nyingi sana tunapoibuliwa, kwa sababu inagusa part muhimu sana ya mwanaume. Lakini maybe if we take it, we go a little bit tukirudi nyuma kidogo, ni vitu gani ambavyo vinaweza vikasababisha upungufu wa nguvu za kiume katika context ambayo umeelezea wewe daktari kitaalamu zaidi?
Yeah, like a medical, organically.
So I won't touch much on the psychological, psychogenic, because that's usually a lot of patients do present with, it's mostly psychogenic.
And I wanted to ask that, what is the ratio that you see? Because kama ulivyosema, a lot of the time if the people hawaja pick up on other mental health issues, na kwanza mpaka mtu aanze kufikiria mambo ya mental health, huyo ni someone who listens to the podcast and is open to exploring it. It's extremely taboo. I think even more taboo than speaking about our genital health. I wouldn't be surprised that people, if let's say have a mental health condition that is now affecting their ability to achieve an erection or causes erectile dysfunction or affects nguvu zao za kiume, hawatakuja kwanza kwa psychologist if they don't pick up kwamba there's other areas of issues. Wataangalia to that physical manifestation, alafu tatafuta sasa suluhisho for that. And that's why I want to see from you, like what ratio gani? Maana it is, as you say, very psychogenic.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, psychogenic is, what is psychogenic?
It has a psychological cause.
Like she said, there could be a mental condition or mental, psychological or psychiatric condition
Yes.
that affects this person. Over 50% have some psychological or psychogenic issue that brings them to erectile dysfunction. It's about over half of the patients present
Wow.
with, yeah.
That's a
with-
huge number.
It's a huge
That's
number.
a huge number.
It's a huge number. So that's where you get these things of stress.
Mm.
Stress isn't just stress at work. It could be financial.
Mm-hmm.
It could be health. Maybe existential threats of things. Maybe threats of maybe loss of jobs or potential loss of jobs. Biashara individual. All these things can affect your mind. Becomes preoccupied. You don't even have time to think or be relaxed to think about doing the deed. You know. I think she'll describe that better than I can.
Yeah.
But then there's the organic aspect of things. Okay, the organic, basically, we're talking about the body, the physical aspect of the being. So, if you've ever heard of the word impotence, it's the English word they like to use. It's a mnemonic. If it's impotence, you have about 10 letters. Okay, so the first letter of each of those conditions that may lead to erectile dysfunction just come to form that word impotence. And most people know the word impotent. They hear someone is impotent. We are smamish, you know? Yeah, that's what basically comes to mind. So when we come to the causes, we have what we call in impotence, we have IMPOTENCE. Okay? So these are basically, I'll start with the organic. So we have inflammatory causes. Maybe someone has an inflammation or infection, maybe from an STI that's untreated. It can cause that.
People, rubber up.
Yes.
Rubber up. Always wear rubber.
It
Go
can
on.
cause inflammation. You have Kiume prostatitis. Okay. And then you have mechanical issues. Okay. You have people who've undergone maybe there's some disorders that may come to the structure of the penis that may cause problems with
The structure of the penis.
Yes. Yeah. And then there is post-surgical, someone who's had surgery done. Okay. Maybe surgery affecting the urinary pipe, we call the urethra. Maybe surgery that may have involved the nerves while they were getting this problem solved. There's some surgical procedures that need to be done because of urinary issues. So that may predispose someone to erectile dysfunction. Maybe they may have had a big prostate operation. Also that can cause erectile dysfunction. We have something we call occlusive. So when I say occlusive, because we're talking about blood supply. Remember, erection involves good blood supply. Blood goes from the arteries to the chambers of the penis, ume, alafu unavimba, unajaa. And then when it swells, it closes the veins. So you get a nice erection. So if you have a problem...
This guy said a nice
Well, good to work. Yeah, it's good
A good enough erection.
A good enough erection, yeah.
Yeah, okay. A good enough erection. So basically you could have an arterial issue or a venous issue. Traumatic for patients who probably had an accident. Kama wanaendesha bodaboda akipata ajali anaumia nyonga, or someone a kid may have fallen down when he was a kid, fell down in a tree and hurt his perineal area. That sometimes may predispose to that sort of thing. Also, someone who's probably had trauma that may have lacerated the structure of the penis. If it allows any sort of leakage of blood during that filling process. Also, and then you have chemicals in the sea. There's neurogenic, which means nervous issues. Maybe the supply from the brain to the spinal cord to the penis. There may be some issues. Maybe you've had some trauma. You have some conditions, or something like multiple sclerosis, for example. It's a condition that affects the way your nerves are covered with. There's a special fat that covers the nerves. Probably imetoka or maybe something of that sort. Also, there's chemicals, which means medications. So certain medications have been very notorious in causing erectile dysfunction. Some antihypertensive drugs, some antipsychotic drugs. Even some drugs that are used for people with heart problems, they've been implicated in erectile dysfunction. And then lastly, we have what we call endocrinological, which is hormonal imbalances. So that itself is a big aspect. Yeah. So actually, that's a very big aspect that contributes to erectile dysfunction. So these are the main organic issues, and then there's the psychogenic issues that come into play as well. I think basically those are the things we need to keep in mind. So over and above those things like age, the lifestyle you lead, maybe a sedentary lifestyle, poor appetite, a poor diet, not sustaining a healthy diet. Lots of saturated fats, red meat, alcohol, smoking, not exercising. All these predispose you to conditions that will likely lead to erectile dysfunction. And like what was mentioned earlier, that erectile dysfunction may be an indicator of another condition. In patients below the age of 40, patients who present with erectile dysfunction, it kind of points to a future of ischemic and of cardiac conditions or heart disease in the future. It kind of knocks on the door, maybe there's a higher chance. Yeah. Like she said, erectile dysfunction might present as a symptom of a larger psychological psychiatric issue. So this can also present as a symptom of a larger cardiovascular or issue in the future.
Let me ask you this. Masturbation kwa wanaume, kujichua, kunachangia kwa kiasi gani, au kunaweza ukachangia kwenye swala zima la erectile dysfunction?
Yeah, because that's the big myth that's out there. Yeah, so help us bust it. Or validate it.
Bust it.
Okay, I think let's just bust the myth. It shouldn't. It doesn't. It really doesn't affect. Unless you have gotten yourself into a very weird technique or into a rut where you are so used to doing something before you perform intercourse. But it should not affect your it should not cause erectile dysfunction. Okay. So it's actually it is a healthy way to let off steam, so to speak. When one is away from their partner, or they cannot, it's a way to let off steam, so to speak.
I'm saying this and I'm laughing. I know somebody will listen to this at a checker, because we were talking about it, and then somebody said, so mtu alisema kama ulivyosema wewe, lakini akasema, so how safe is that in terms of frequency? How frequently should I masturbate for me to be, because unasema too much of anything is harmful?
That's true. Yeah. So it's like intercourse. Like how much is some can do it daily, some can do it twice a day. But so long as it does not affect your life, it does not affect your way of life, your lifestyle. You don't preoccupy yourself with just performing masturbation. Like you're working, and then you feel the urge to do the do, and then you unaacha unafanya unarudi. That's kind of it's wrong.
That's a red flag. You should know that something is off.
So you're building a psychological dependence now.
Okay.
And
I think you're right.
So
and that's how you become. That's how it becomes an addiction.
Yes. That's how it becomes an addiction. Because addictions are basically your pleasure pathways. You're training them on as a condition kupata pleasure from something specific. So if you're training yourself kwamba I'm getting pleasure from masturbating, then unatengeneza hizo pathways kwamba usipopata masturbation hupati pleasure. Or the frequency, as doctor said, that you do it, unaweza sasa unajitrain, that now it becomes a behavior. Kwamba after every hour or so I need to masturbate, or after every game I need to you know? Yeah. It depends on how your style of it. So kama ulivyosema, anything in excess is bad. So everything in moderation is good, is fair. Lakini ndio hivyo, you must be cautious to develop hizo psychological dependency. Kwa sababu psychological dependency can affect your body. Lakini there isn't a physical cause. Yeah. It's just a psychological cause. Ambayo the treatment is different compared to a physical cause would have a different route of treatment.
turudi kwenye swala zima la nguvu za kiume doctor. Ambao wewe umeamua kusema kwamba let's just call it erectile dysfunction kwa sababu katika context ya Kiswahili ni mambo mengi sana ambayo yana involve. Tuzungumzie uwepo wa dawa zilizopo mtaani. God knows mtaani ukizunguka kuna waganga wanarudisha nguvu za kiume.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mabango yapo, tuna dawa zinafahamika, sijui Vumbi la Congo, Kasusi, sijui nini, sijui a lot of things. Na watu wanasema kwamba hivi vitu actually kweli vinasaidia.
Alright.
Watu wanavyosema. Na of course demand and supply.
Yes.
The fact kwamba demand ipo, manake probably supply ipo. Na probably inawasaidia watu kweli. So let's debunk that myth as well. Ni kwamba ni kweli uwepo hizi dawa ambazo zipo kwa sababu hivi hatujui zimekuwa approved na nani.
Sure.
Na hatujui ubora wake uko vipi.
Yeah.
We don't even know the chemicals involved kwenye kuzitengeneza, so hatujui long term effect kama zipo na yani hakuna huo ufahamu. Na how true is it kuhusiana na efficiency yao na utendaji wa kazi wa hizo dawa?
Mechanism of action.
Mechanism of action.
Yeah.
Yani dawa ni nyingi.
Yeah.
Nadia, unazijua?
Sijui zote.
Umeshazisikia? Nadia, tumezisikia wewe ni zipi?
Hizo zitaja tu.
Vumbi la Congo, sio Kasusi, sijui
Kasusi sasa
Viagra, watu wa nje.
I can vouch
The
for
medically
I
approved.
can vouch.
Yeah.
But the alternative things, there's Kasusi. I don't know what goes into it, but it's a herbal mix like tea. Nadhani naona kuna watu wanapita na chupa na vile disposable cups zile za paper cups wanazipitisha mtaani wanamiminia watu. Kuna Vumbi la Congo. I've never seen it myself, but I've heard stories about it. Basically, I think the mechanism it numbs it allows someone to prolong intercourse. So it's not so much involved with erectile dysfunction, more so with maybe premature ejaculation, which is another aspect also. Kuna some herbal mixtures, kuna Wamasai wanapitisha pia dawa miti kama roots.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the name, but they do offer those as well. I don't know how efficient those are. The other traditional, maybe ethnic or culture specific remedies that are there also, which may work well according to the description or the experiences given by people. Remembering that there's a placebo effect and a psychogenic aspect to all these things. Right? It gives someone a boost and support. Like, now that I've taken this, I think I can do my thing.
Psychologically, does it work like that?
Yeah, the placebo effect works. Unaweza mtu anakupa sugar pill, anakwambia hii na kuita treat your headache. Ni glucose tu. Lakini because you believe kwamba hii dawa ni it's designed to treat my headache, mtu kichwa kinampona.
These things do happen.
Research has been done.
So probably it applies here as well. The same case.
There's an element that
Kama nikipiga Vumbi la Congo, I can do 2 hours now.
Yeah, that works. And some people even use some illegal substances. These substances do exist. I've heard some people talk about the use of cut, mira, of the short kind, like short stem sort of, especially along the coast. There's been stories of people using such. It helps with a good erection, a good enough erection to prolong it, of course. And then you have the medical, and then I think there was an article I came across. There was a medication that was approved by there's a board that deals with alternative medication attached with Mumbili. There's a medication called Ujana that was even being recommended by some urologists to help patients with erectile dysfunction. And there was some study that showed that it indeed helped the mechanisms that are involved with causing erection. Something called nitric oxide. It helps the vessels expand well. So there was some study that showed that it kind of does. There were some effects that helped. Placebo or not, who knows? And then the medical drugs, which I can vouch for. Those I've seen, I've used, I've prescribed to patients, and they have worked. So basically, when you do assess your patient, or when you treat your patient, there are certain steps you need to take before you start actually giving medication. You don't just start jumping to medication.
Yeah.
Like right now, vijana wengi anaingia dukani, ataka enjoy, ananunua, anaondoka. Actually, you should fully assess the patient to see exactly what's going on. Firstly, you can start with if you try to find the history of the patient. Is it a new onset thing? Is it caused when they're with a certain partner but not with another? Like say, with partner A,
You're good.
you're
Yeah.
good. Partner B, it's an issue.
Why is that?
Maybe there's some
The relationship.
relation issues with partner B.
This is where you come in.
That's where she comes in. And then there's some techniques, I'm sure, that you devise to help patients with like sex therapy or some behavioral treatment mechanisms after having ruled out any organic causes.
Yeah.
But if those don't work out, then we can start moving to medications. Which medications we do have the types you have, the Viagra's. It's called sildenafil. Actually, that's the official name. It has a specific dose. The tadalafil.
It has a specific dose.
Yes.
Sio kwamba mtu unachukua tu unajinywea unavyotaka.
It has a dose.
Okay.
So there's tadalafil, and there are other groups of drugs. There are injectable drugs also. If those don't work, the injectable drugs to the penis that also help. There's pellets you can put in the urethra also to help with erections. And if those fail, there's options of, again, having assessed the patient, surgical procedures that can help if there's any vein issues, venous or arterial issues that need to be fixed. Not commonly done here, but such things do exist if the medication doesn't work, and if psychological interventions do not work. And then lastly, if that fails, there's the option of implants. Penile implants do exist in patients who need them, and it's indicated. They do exist, but currently I don't think we're performing these procedures in the country. Last I knew, I checked, we're not performing them. People fly overseas for such procedures, so the need does exist. But these things, so there are many ways to treat the issue, but there should be a standardized guideline, not just nenda kujipatia vitu fulani. Okay, if you're taking something that helps the placebo thing, I understand it's psychological, but then it's best to come to professionals to see and actually tell you exactly what's going on.
Na urologist wengi ni wanaume au wapo urologist wa kike?
So currently, urologists, I think, actually, I would say 97% of them are male in Tanzania currently. There are female urologists coming up as well. One of my colleagues, we cleared together. Also, she's currently at Mbili, female urologist. Remember, in urology, we also deal with issues to do with urinary system. So that's in all genders. There's some women who have urinary issues who might not be so comfortable coming to a man. So a female urologist is there. There are others coming up as well.
Yeah. Nadia, I want to bring it back to relationship dynamics. Namna gani hapo they can also play a part kwenye hichi kitu. Kama doctor aliongea kwamba you might find somebody else who can make it work with this person, but clearly not being able to make it work with the other person. How does that come into play?
Well, inategemea sasa na dynamic ya hiyo relationship. You know, and hapo yenye it's a whole thorough assessment on its own. Kuangalia what is your relationship like, when did the relationship start? Yani mahusiano yenu yakoje? Kwa sababu let's say you're with a partner ambaye yani kila saa is maybe challenging your masculinity in a way. This woman is highly independent, probably makes more than you, knows it, shoves it in your face.
You cannot handle it.
And that's like the craziest scenario that I'm talking about. And now you're feeling inadequate in their presence. Iyo in itself can lead to having erectile dysfunction or erectile issues.
Can we relate it to an ego thing?
It is an ego thing. It is definitely an ego thing. Kwa sababu hapo now, one, ukiangalia the norms, our norms. A man, this is what a man is, a woman is, hizo masculine standards and femininity standards, etc. Kuna culture. You know, so kuna hizi factors nyingi. And also ukiangalia if stressors. Because now you're raised thinking the man is the breadwinner, wanaume ndo analeta, you know, earns more. I think there was a time, I don't know about Tanzania, lakini abroad there was research that actually men get paid more than women despite doing the same job. And it's mostly to just feed into the ego, yeah. Hey, tunaweza wote wawili tuko hapa tunafanya kazi moja, lakini mimi narudi nyumbani, my take home is less than yours. Just imekuwa put in place to continue feeding the male ego. And for some reason men need that more than women, I don't know why. That's another thing on its own. So unapata mtu in that context kama hiyo ambayo society nzima inakwambia wewe ndo mwanaume, wewe ndo unatakiwa uwe kichwa. Alafu unakutana sasa na mwanamke ambaye maybe she's not at the head, she's at the heart, lakini maybe you're not feeling like you're the head. So wewe, this is what something one of my colleagues at Boio was actually saying, is that kuna wanaume wengine naturally mwanaume ni kichwa. Biologically mwanaume ndo kichwa, and women prefer men to be the head. The end. Women are usually the heart. So, of this machine. Women are the heart. So you find other men who don't believe that they're heads. They behave like the legs. And so now, the woman is the heart and obviously is above you. So now, naturally, hata kama she's not taking charge, wewe unajiona inadequate because wewe mwenyewe umejishusha from the head to the legs. Hiyo in itself brings about psychological turmoil, psychic pressure, ambayo can affect now your ability to perform, your ability to maintain your erection and things like that. So unaona muda mwingi, saa zingine it's not even your partner, it's wewe mwenyewe, your self-confidence, your self-esteem, how wewe unajiona, your own insecurities, and how you see perhaps your partner's successes in relation to your own. So when it comes to relationships, kuna kitu kama hicho. Sijui kwenye podcast hapa kuna mtu alitoa example, au sijui it was something I was watching. I don't know where I came across this. I think it was a joke that there was a couple who had issues and the guy was going to see a psychologist. Psychologist wake akampa technique, akamwambia ufika nyumbani, before starting with your wife, look to the mirror and just say to yourself, she's not my wife, she's not my wife, she's not my wife. Rudi. Anasimama vizuri. Ukiona kitu uondoka nenda tena chooni. She's not my wife, anarudi. Sasa mkewe akasema, wow, things are going well. Lakini mbona kila saa nenda chooni afanya nini? Kunyata kumsikiliza na muona mwenzie anajiambia kwenye kioo, she's not your wife, she's not your wife.
Did that not cause the fight?
Obviously
the woman was like, as long as you get it done, I am not your wife.
You know, it depends.
It depends, yeah.
But that's something that feeds into the whole notion that muda mwingine it's actually, you know, it's the way you look at your partner, na the meaning you make from your relationship, na je pia relationship inaendaje, kwa sababu ndio kuna hizi changamoto, kuna wanawake wengine tuko, we're out there who would belittle a man, you know, that's a reality. Na kama kuna dada zangu wengine mtani, I'm a man by association, but now I'm like switching. Like, if we're doing that, it's not helping anyone. Haisaidii wewe, haisaidii yeye, haisaidii jamii. So let's just end it. Kama umechokana, yani mseme tu nimekuchoka, yani yaishi. Unaanza, because when you start chipping at a man's ego, you're also chipping at their self-confidence, you're chipping at their self-esteem. Kwa sababu we are a system. They're not in isolation. Hivi vitu, our health, our self-esteem, our confidence, our psyche, vyote viko interconnected. Moja ikiwa affected, ina affect areas zingine pia. So, lakini ziko hizo situation. Men are out there wanasema wake zao au the women they're with actually target that. Kwa sababu tunajua this is an area that is very sensitive for men. You know, that's something, it's open, it's an open secret. You know? Yeah. This is an area. So if you really want to hurt someone and you attack that part, unajua kabisa hapo I'm going for the kill. And that's why even when you're in the street and you're trying to defend yourself, someone would kick straight at the man's balls, penis. Yeah. I mean, you said trauma to that area could organically now lead to problems.
Yeah.
And ukiangalia self-defense nyingi, it's like, I knew from an early age, if a dude messes with me, I'm gonna kick his balls.
And then that's it. The
That's
fight is
it.
done.
I know he's done. He's done mina sepa.
Yeah.
You know? And sometimes we do that also with words. Not physically. Sometimes we do it psychologically and emotionally. Yeah, unaona mda mwingine, that's the biggest issue. That it's not, unaona the person hana any organic cause. There is no medical, there is no medical cause. Lakini, they're not able. Now,
and then hapo tunachongea kwenye what Dr. Boio said, kwamba you're with this person, you know you cannot perform, but then you go to the other person.
And it's working. It's just that the dynamic inabadilika, the way you communicate inabadilika. So, mda mwingine, that's usually the case. And other times, unaona, it carries on. Even if they're with a partner ambaye hamna any conflicts. It's that whole concept of ye mwenyewe, his self-confidence is so low that they're now no longer the head, they're now the feet.
So, just for clarity, what Nadia said, kwamba saa nyingine inawezekana partner wako hana tatizo, ila ni confidence yako kama mwanaume na your own insecurities, kwa kwanza kuona kwamba okay, huyu mtu ananifanya mimi niweke hivi. Na probably that person is not even doing that.
They're probably not. Kwa sababu ukiangalia wanawake wanakuzwa, society, community, even biologically, we are ornaments. Ukiangalia, we're not built with like muscles and stuff. We have muscles.
Ni urembo. Ni
powerful.
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
feminists are gonna kill you for saying
they
that.
can kill me, it's fine. But it's the reality. I mean, look at a woman and how a woman is built, and then look at a man. We have anatomical differences, structural differences. We are different.
Yeah.
Naturally, women are softer. Unless I go hit the gym hardcore, nitajenga hizo muscles. But if a man does the same as me, he'll build even more muscles.
Yeah,
sure.
It's just it's biology, So, and it comes naturally. Hata manyumbani wanawake wanafundishwa kuwa the heart. You are the heart of the relationship. Yeah. Also, yes, there are roles, leadership roles that we're great at, and the heart. I mean, think of the heart.
Yes.
It is a leader. And if the heart stops pumping, you're dead.
Yeah.
The brain thinks and uses logic and looks at all the problems, of all the difficult stuff the head does. Personally, I'd rather not. I'd rather just pump the blood, make sure things are going.
Sustain.
Yeah. So, and that's natural. Mwanamke ambaye atasema no, I'd rather do all the hardcore stuff is lying, and also anajishusha yeye mwenyewe kwa sababu the heart does a lot of hardcore work. So, ukiangalia in that case, women naturally fall in the heart space. Hata kama ni feminist wa wapi, ana fall in the heart space. But when a man now lowers themselves from being the head because of their own self-esteem, self-confidence issues, akajishusha kwenye miguu, inampaswa sasa mwanamke aanze sasa kujishusha yeye from the heart, aje sasa aende wapi, anakwenda. If where you are the feet, where does the woman go? So that's when we get violence, abusive relationships, we get problems in relationships, kwa sababu now mwanamke has been trained kuwa the heart, naturally believes she's the heart, lakini now because of the partner they're with, anaona Mungu wangu, huyu anatakiwa awe hapa kwenye kichwa, sasa yeye he's below me, where do I go so that he remains being on top? So now no one is the heart, no one is the head, mko miguu na huyu mwingine anakuwa carpet. And those are where problems come about. So, and it's the same with sexual related issues. Ni kwamba confidence level, how you think about yourself, your self-image, your self-esteem plays a big role. Na hata sikuambia mtu hata kama mwanamke anakuja na kubelittle, but your self-confidence is good. And you will not bother you. Chances are you'll stand your ground, you'll have your boundaries, utamwambia wewe mwanamke atufaa. We're not good for each other. Katafuta na kufaa huko.
Nataka tuzungumzie kuhusiana na swala zima la ni kitu ambacho kinatibika na erectile dysfunction, au kwa sababu like you say, watu nguvu za kiume, watu wanatumia dawa wanazotumia, wanasema zinawaponya, but then my worry is you become addicted to that. Now unaona kwamba you cannot do anything bila kutumia hizo dawa zilizopo, whether it's Kasusi, whether it's Vumbi la Congo or nini, na you said placebo effect. Inaweza kaingia kichwani kwako ukasema for the only way mimi naweza nikaperform is when nikitumia hizi dawa zilizopo. Je, ni kitu ambacho kinatibika?
Yes. So the situation you've described earlier, you just described of kama nikitumia hii ndo nitaweza kufanya kazi, inawezekana ipo. That situation does occur, but in some situations where someone has started using maybe a Kasusi, they had 2 or 3 or 4 episodes where everything went well, maybe they've actually built up their confidence again. They can actually drop it off and continue as it is. Without, like I said, these things are transient. Maybe they're going through a bad patch in their relationship. Maybe they're going through some ego issues, some esteem issues that were transient. And once that's resolved, you might find the function does return after that. That works. That happens. If someone has an organic issue, like they have issues that require the use of proper prescribed use of sildenafil, which is Viagra. Those ones usually continue as needed with the medication.
Now, do they not have long-term effects as well?
What are some of the side effects?
Yeah, what are some of the side effects?
The side effects of Viagra, or at least of PD5 inhibitors, they get blue vision, like bluish sort of vision. They get flushing, like the pressure drops sometimes. But long term, that's usually through an overdose, and maybe the patient is using other heart medication. Like I said, there's a prescribed dose, and maybe that person already had a heart issue they didn't know about. So the pressure dropped continuously and they couldn't be helped. So those are usually the side effects. Long term issues not described, but you see, if the patient does need to use them, they only use this medication when they need to have intercourse. It's not like every day anatumia. Anapojua kwamba anakuja kukutana na mama or anatumia dawa. And usually you find this is more common in the older population. So they're not having it as frequently as younger people. So it is dosed to the time when they need to do it. Surgical, those with surgical issues, some do get like if it's arterial or venous issues that are fixed. Only about 50% do get some relief after surgery. Those who do get penile implants, usually they work well, but some people end up having to have a replacement done every 2 to 3 years. So
what?
Those who get an implant
after every 2 3 years.
Yeah, they might need like a touch up because it will cause some erosion of some sort. So that's the worst case scenario. But we usually don't go that far. Usually those on medication, that's continuous, but as and when is needed. Au wengine wa Kasusi na nini sana atatumia kiasi, and then once they get back into rhythm wanna stop. Then there's the aspect of vijana wanatumia. There's this thing, I've heard it a lot, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Say a guy has been chasing after a girl for some time. And then the time that she actually gets to meet up with her, she does take him in or accepts him. Kuna tabia ya watu kutumia hizi dawa.
Ili kukomoa.
Kukomoa.
Yes.
So
I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry.
That is
I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
I've heard such stories of people describing like kukomoa. That's where you get your Congo dust. People are using enjoy and all these things. It's actually abuse of medication.
It is.
Yeah. Some people may do it to overcome performance anxiety because there's an aspect of performance anxiety as well. Maybe this may have stemmed from failure to erect because of performance anxiety, previous history of premature ejaculation. That's also is another aspect. So probably they want to overcome that. Because you get an issue where someone has gone for their first round of kwanza, there's something called the refractory period. After you've gone through the sexual response, the cycle, you climax, till you get ready for the second round. Usually there's a thing called the refractory period where further stimulation does not cause an erection. Some people it even causes irritation. So some people tend
And it's normal.
It's normal.
So if you go through that, you don't have to feel
no, it's fine.
Something is wrong.
There's something called the refractory period. After you have intercourse, when you climax, everything calms down. There's release of oxytocin in the body. Everyone feels in love. That's why they have that pillow talk. That's what.
And you can cuddle.
You can cuddle. That's where pillow talk comes in, right? So that period actually, watu wengine hataki, wanaona kama kuna shida. And that's my way tayari kwa around ya pili. Especially if it's an issue of premature ejaculation. He's come first. She hasn't reached. Amemacha kwenye mataa, amaja kushamwisho already. He feels the pressure ya kurudi mara ya pili. But they should actually respect that there is a refractory period. So people tend to abuse these drugs because they tend to reduce that period, that refractory period. There's that aspect.
Let's talk about a little bit about premature ejaculation. What is that?
So premature ejaculation, I want to break a few myths. So
Yes, please.
Please.
Premature ejaculation is basically a condition where a man and his partner engage in a intromission or penile vaginal intercourse specifically. So there's what they call there's a latency time where from the point where you perform intromission, which is you get in, there's the hip movement, thrusting, etc. So consensus between 1 and 2 minutes of inserted intercourse resulting in ejaculation that causes dissatisfaction in the male and the female. So that usually is defined as premature ejaculation. So now it depends. A normal latency time is between, try guess how many minutes it's supposed to be. Like how long it's supposed to pump for. Like how many minutes do you think it would be?
Now,
what do people say?
What
have you read?
So that's
because I just want to bust a myth now because
so let's
especially from guys.
Let's talk about it now. Ukisoma and I've read enough about it. Wanasema the whole thing from when you start preparing each other mpaka you do the deed kila kitu wanaume kumaliza, it takes about between the whole thing. It takes about 5 minutes to 10 minutes. The whole thing. That is the whole process.
Okay.
You know? So you would say it might take up to a minute, 2 to 5.
Okay. What's your take?
I would,
from literature read and what you've come across.
to be honest, I haven't done much reading. But if I could make a guess, I would say 3, just because I'm like Michael kasema 1 to sijui 5.
So you wanna be in the middle.
So so you are right. We're talking about 3 to 7 minutes. Up to that's 3 to 7 minutes. I think that would be the 95% confidence interval. Now you have outliers. So you have some up to 11. So they said women, according to studies done, showed anything shorter than 3, and anything shorter than 3 is considered. It's a bit on the lower side.
It's a no.
More than 15 also is considered tunatesana.
It's too much.
You know? So people need to understand that. So 3 to 7 up to 10 is respectable. Asa stories of vijiwe tumekaa nusu saa bana. That's kwa kweli ni I don't know. Si ujui kama ni kweli. But you know egos, guys, the masculinity issue, toxic masculinity.
And also I think another thing ambacho watu wengi wanafanya waongea mambo is when you watch porn and you know people go for an hour,
it's
45
edited.
minutes.
That is
but that is one thing people do not want to
Porn is edited. It's not real. Those people are performers. They are actually it's like you're trying to compete with Bolt to pick 100 meters. He's a professional. He does that all the time. You cannot match with him because they're professional.
That appear with those porn actors. They're actors. That's probably also not their reality.
Yes.
but they're performing, they're showing you an ideal. It's not what's there in reality.
Yeah.
But then katika age about we are glorifying porn, because now tuko katika era about you see porn, you go on social media, 2-3 tweets, there's the porn, or there's the porn content, or there's somebody anaongea kitu ambayo it's very suggestive, or what.
And watoto wanaanza kuangalia at what age?
Watoto wanaanza kuangalia.
That's what they learn about sex.
Yeah, that's what they learn about sex. That's one. And two, from a man's perspective now, you start to see things, na unaona watu wanavyoongea, and all those kind of stuff. And then I think subconsciously, inaingia kichwani.
Those things also come in performance anxiety.
Yes.
If you've never spoken to an elder, or you've never seen a norm, you know, in our culture, we do not. Different cultures, you get people of different wanaenda kwenye, like, to the river to kuoga kijijini. So you kind of get an idea of okay, that looks normal. So in our settings right now, we don't have that sort of exposure. So the first time someone either attains puberty or sees someone who's supposed to be an adult who is fully naked is in porn. You get?
Yeah.
So you get kind of the wrong idea of what you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
Most people are adequately equipped, okay? And they're performing as is required by nature. Right? But because of what exposure we have, we're being fed ideals.
Yeah.
If you move into your social media, your feeds, it's always telling you what you should have, not what you have, or you know.
Yeah.
So it's sad, but premature ejaculation is a big aspect.
Yeah. So you have premature ejaculation, then you have late.
There's late ejaculation and anorgasmia, failure to climax.
All those are conditions.
All those are conditions. And Nguvu za Kiume, like I said, it's a very wide thing. Kwa sababu hiyo kama unashindwa ku-ejaculate, manake huwezi ku-impregnate mtu, you cannot ejaculate your seed.
Yeah.
That becomes a problem. You have a frustrated partner who feels he's not satisfying you. It brings disharmony once again, and you can return to erectile dysfunction.
Yep.
It can start with...
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
Fellas, this episode is strictly for you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're having this conversation because even I am learning now. And najaribu kufikiria maongezi ambayo tunakuaga nayo kama washikaji about it. Of course, kwenye maongezi ya washikaji kila mtu ni bingwa. You know? Kwenye maongezi wanaume,
everyone is the same.
Yeah, everyone is the same boat. Yani kila mtu anaweza kukimbia 100 meters in 2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever record ambayo both America. Lakini we don't really talk about the vitu kwa sababu moja, there's no understanding. Lakini pili, there's that social pressure that comes with being a man, kwamba tayari you're expected kwamba hivi vitu we unavimudu. Ambavyo mimi nadhani na unapokutana na challenges or when you feel like huwezi kumit kwenye ile standard ambayo imewekwa, then it leads into a lot of other mental health issues. Nadia, now that tumeongea na doctor na ametuambia causes na nini na vitu kama hivyo, what do you think are some of the psychological effects that might come with a person not being able to deal with these issues?
Okay. But it's kind of like the chicken and the egg situation mda mwingine. Kwa sababu ukiangalia people with, let's say, depression or anxiety, specifically these two, I would like to highlight them. Zinapelekea matatizo with nguvu za kiume or whatever, erectile dysfunctions and things like that. Lakini other times pia, people who are having difficulties with their genital health, with their penis health, inaweza ikaenda ikapelekea sasa magonjwa ya akili. So let's say you have an organic condition.
Tunaposema organic jamani kwamba kimwili, it's medical.
Yeah, so unakuta wengine they have that organic condition ambayo kuna medical cause na kuna medical treatment. Lakini obviously treatment yoyote haito leo unakunywa unameza dawa ugonjwa umepotea. Doesn't happen. It takes a while. Si ndio? And also wengi wetu mpaka tufike muda ambao tumeenda kwa daktari imeshakuwa like period of time imepita. Mpaka unaona okay, nimeshindwa, nimeshajaribu kina Kasusi, kina nani, kina wote nimewatry, sijapata sijapata nafuu yoyote, ndo anaishia kwa daktari. last resort. It's the same with the psychiatry side. Watu wanajaribu kila kitu under the sun, kuanzia shehe mpaka mganga mpaka sijui nani. Wakishaona wameshindwa kabisa, wame-exhaust list, wanaishia kwa mtaalamu.
Wakati wangeanza kwa mtaalamu wangepunguza distress, yani distress kubwa tu. So it's the same on this side. Kwamba because they take a long period to actually kwenda kwa mtaalamu ambaye go to a urologist ambaye yani is an expert in treating what you're going through. Lakini tunaanza kujaribu huko vumbi la wapi, la
Congo, pweza sijui nani, and nothing is working. The more the time is going and the more things you try and the more they don't work, the less your confidence drops, the less your self-esteem drops. Kwa sababu ndani ya muda wote, kumbuka bado labda uko ndani ya mahusiano, bado unahitaji kuperform, au bado una hizo desire, lakini now you cannot satisfy your own desire because physically you cannot achieve it. Hiyo yote inaenda ina chip. If you're talking about chipping at your psychological wall or your psyche or your ego, hivi vitu vyote vinapelekea vinagonga tu pale. So now imagine by the time unapata hiyo help, you already now starting to develop kama ni depression. Now you're feeling low about yourself, your thoughts are going dark and negative. Je, nitaweza kweli mimi? Will I ever have children if you are unable to ejaculate? Nitaweza kuwa na partner, mwanamke yote atakuwa na mimi? Kwa sababu again it's an important part of partnership, having sex. Disclaimer. But unajua, you have now these thoughts. So by the time you get to a point where you're now seeking help, you've either developed now a mental health condition, or umeanza na mental health condition ambayo imeanza kuaffect your genital health, so ndio maana nasema it's like chicken and egg. Vinaingiliana, muda mwingine vinakuwa comorbid, vina act pamoja, kwamba you have a medical condition but you also have a psychological condition that now exacerbate hiyo medical issue. Lakini shida ndo hiyo. Yani sisi tumemweka expert mwisho kabisa wa mstari. Tunaanza kwanza na mambo yetu tunayoyajua wenyewe, yani self remedies, stories za mtaani, vumbi hizi za wapi hatujui, ambayo
la Congo. Unasema za wapi? Mimi sijawahi kusikia kwingine kokote. Mimi nasikia vumbi la Congo.
Haya mavumbi ya Congo ambayo there is no research done on it. Hatujui impact yake short term, long term. Hatujui inaweza kukuaffect wewe mwenyewe in other areas of your life vipi, maana kila kitu ni dawa na ni sumu.
Yes.
So at least hizi za medically prescribed ambazo zimekuwa research, zimekuwa validated kwamba ndio hii ni dawa na kuna protocol imekuwa put in place. Tunajua kabisa madhara yake ni 1 2 3, mazuri yake ni 1 2 3. Hii ndio jinsi tunaweza tukakabiliana na madhara. Lakini hizi vumbi za Congo na Kasusi hatujui kitu chochote. Hatujui benefits ziko wapi, tunazi experience, it's experiential. It's not objective. Hatujui consequence ni zipi, kama zipo, kama hazipo. Labda nazo pia tunazipata tu experientially, ambayo hatuwezi kuziquantify, hatuwezi tukaziongelea, hatujui jinsi gani tunakabiliana nazo. And we get to the point tumefika kwa expert now, the condition is either chronic, so now with the psychological treatment it's going to take even longer kwa sababu we are now fighting against a period of time that has passed. Kama ni beliefs zimeshakuwa solidified beliefs, so now having to go and break down your belief ambayo umeijenga throughout this time, haito sessions zaidi ya 6 zinaweza zikachukua na even more. So tukikaa tunafikiria, yani tusichukulie poa. Rather kama unaona mimi sielewi nini inatokea, unaona unahitaji vitu ambavyo labda by your age you should be you should be able to do these things, unaona unapata tabu, instead of kuanza kwanza na haya madawa yetu ya kienyeji haya kwa mtaani, go see a urologist. Get that expert opinion. Kwa sababu pia, and I wanted to ask this, if you guys screen for mental health conditions when you get people in your consultation, kwa sababu wewe ndio utakuwa now the next expert to say, okay, wewe unahitaji kuwa kwangu hapa, inabidi uende psychiatry.
Thanks for that. I'm actually glad you brought that up. Kuna changamoto. Afu kwa kweli, niseme kwa kweli, hiyo ni kitu ambacho tunataka tukiangalia sisi upande wa urology kwamba kama kuna tatizo la mfumo wa akili or something, it's best to coordinate with psychologists. I think the best to kwanza na psychologist hata kabla ya kupeleka psychiatry, just to see what can be done to deal with these patients. That system, from what I've seen in practice, is not exercised. So that is actually a gap. We identify, yes, okay, it's psychological. We counsel up to our level. But it's not, we just based on the principles of medical psychology in undergrad, which I know it's not sufficient. It's best to refer such patients. I totally agree that that's a point that we should look into. We need to coordinate also with the psychologists to sort these issues out, especially if we do identify that it's indeed psychogenic. Usually the patients who come they're males and the urologists are males. Naongea kama kisera itakuwa hivi kwa vizuri, you should show the data as this and that. Then they do get better. We hope they get better. But I agree, and I think that there's a real role of the psychology and urologists working together with such patients. Like we said, more than half of them come because of these things.
Dr. Boio Nyamwihura, if a person wants to reach out, kwa sababu definitely I know what's going to happen after this episode. So
how can we reach you?
Sitaki watu wanitafute mimi kwa sababu sitakuwa na majibu. I'd rather wamwone mtaalamu kabisa. So how do people reach out to you?
Okay. So basically I think I can give out my contacts.
Yes.
Okay, so my number is 0782 549 759, and my handles, my Twitter handle is @boiosays, which is BOIOSEZ. I think that will be the best place to get me. So that number also is a WhatsApp number.
It's a WhatsApp number.
Yes.
Okay, now that number unatumia Twitter na Instagram or?
Oh, and Instagram, I do use Instagram as well. So my handle is @talk TALK2B33. So that's @TALK2B33. Those are my handles.
So if you want to reach out to Doctor, that's that. But then if you want to reach out to Nadia kwa psychological help kuhusiana na mambo ni @mindmatterstz on Instagram and then @mindmatterstz on Twitter, and then there's the link kwenye bio yake itakupeleka moja kwa moja kwenye website yake, and then pale utaweza kuzungumza naye kwa kirefu kuhusiana na mambo. Sisi ni @mindthepodcast on Instagram and @mindthepodcast on Twitter. Ukinifuata mimi nitakupeleka huku kwa alichosema hawa. Yaani ukija kwangu ukiniuliza, gladly of course nitakuassist, but kama unaweza kusikiliza na umetafuta namna ya kuwapata, I think that's the best way to go about it. Is there anything else you want to add before we close down this session?
Well, I just want to advise people with these issues to seek help
fellas.
Soon. Fellas.
Talk to fellas right now.
Okay. Basically, I'd like to advise fellas to seek out help as soon as they identify that there's a problem. Ukiona kwamba kuna shida, usikae nayo muda mrefu. Yaani tafuta ushauri kutoka kwa wataalamu. Awe upande wa psychology ama urology. Kote tunaweza tukasaidia, yani tunajaribu kufanya work together between these two departments to help you get a better outcome. That's my advice, honestly.
Nadia, anything?
And I would just like to affirm that kwamba kabla hatujajaribu hizi alternative treatments
ambazo
hazijawa validated, hatujui madhara yake. Ndio kuna mazuri ambayo ndio maana tunazitumia mpaka sasa.
Mazuri tunayaona
lakini hatujui madhara kwa sababu watu wengi hatuongelei madhara. Muda mwingi tunaongelea mazuri. Yeah, so just for our general health na safety na well-being, tuanze kwanza na mtaalamu. Sijui yani this barrier ilianzia wapi, lakini naomba sisi tuwe the generation ambayo inakuja kuvunja hiyo barrier between healthcare professionals and the general population. Kwa sababu we are here to serve. We're basically public servants.
True.
Anyone who is in the healthcare profession is a public servant, whether you're in a private practice or in a public practice. Our life is dedicated to making sure that we're all living our best lives. So, kabla hujaanza huko wengine, go. Na kama if you're listening na haujawahi kuenda to get even a checkup, you know, of your genitals, your genital health, I advise kabla issue hazijaanza, hujafika kwenye a stage where una matatizo unahitaji sasa ukamwone daktari, just go for a checkup.
Yeah, let's make it normal.
Let's normalize checkups. People are dying from prostate cancer because they did not know they had prostate cancer. Things that are treatable if caught mapema. Lakini hatufanyi hivi vitu, tunaishia tunapogundua ni imefika stage ambayo it's uko mwisho.
Stage ya kumwachia Mungu.
Yeah.
Wakati stage za binadamu huku tunakuwa tumeziruka. Tunafika mpaka stage ya kwamba sasa tunamwachia Mungu. Yeah.
So it's unnecessary. It's really unnecessary. Treatment is affordable. Kama una NHIF pale, yani NHIF inakubalika kote.
Promo.
You know, so please. Tuanze, I think that's the biggest thing about self-care ni kwanza kujijali mwenyewe. Na how else unajijali mwenyewe? If you neglect your health, where you don't care about yourself, regardless of what you say. Atakama if I don't care what you do or what you drive or how you dress or where you live or what you eat. If you don't care about your health, you don't care about yourself.
And that is our resident psychologist, Nadia Ahmed, signing out. Me and Tomeko Baruti. Thank you guys for listening in. Like I said, subscribe to anywhere on a podcast. Give us a rating, give us a comment. You know, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. And then, spread the word. Yeah. This is where the conversations are happening. This is Men, the podcast.
Men, the podcast.